Thanks again to Carbon Health for being our presenting sponsor. If you are a regular here, you know I've talked about Carbon Health and how long I've talked about Carbon Health and why I love Carbon Health. They help with things like COVID, cold, flu testing, antibiotic prescriptions for things like infections, UTIs, STDs. They have primary care services in California and Massachusetts. But if you're new here, thank you, by the way, for stopping by. You should also know that they can help with injuries as well. Most of their locations have imaging or x-ray machines so they can diagnose strains, sprains, and fractures if you unfortunately become injured. And I know, unfortunately, not everyone will be near one of the 120 plus locations, but they do have virtual urgent care services for states like California, New York, Florida, and several others. So thank you to Carbon Health. Really, really happy to be working with them. Check out the link in the description. Hey, everybody, what's up? It's Friday. It's the big thing. It's Capes and Cowls, man, and the crew is back together. Me, Coy, and Winston. We're here, and so are you. And we're going to talk about a lot of different things. Yes, we talked about that Superman casting, but I didn't talk about it with the guys. So we're going to talk about the potential Superman casting and what it means. What does it also mean? We know that the writer's strike has done a lot of different things, man. It's pushed a lot of stuff, and we know Loki's been moved back, and now Echo, not only is it going to be still in 2023, that show is dropping something Disney has not done. They're dropping it all at once. What does that mean? Does it mean the quality of the show? Does it mean that the studio was prepared for it? All of that. Speaking of things that maybe Marvel was not prepared about is the Jonathan Majors situation. Well, there's a report that potentially the new season of Loki is going to explain his future as Kang. What's that all about? We will talk about that and more. Guardians, box office keeping strong. So tons of stuff to talk about in the world of comic book movies. And then there's something the guys told me about in comic books that I said, really, how's that going to work? And what the hell that is? Well, you got to watch the show to find out. So that's an intro with a migraine headache. So let's get into it, everybody. It is Capes and Cowls. It's myself and Winston and Coy. I'm ready, and so are you. Let's do it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the big thing. Capes and Cowls. That's myself, Winston A. Marshall, and Louis Gossett Jr. No, Coy John is here.
Goes to Rome for 2 weeks, comes back, no respect.
No respect. You got tons of respect. But I give Winston has more respect than you do. You know why? Because you watched my dog for 5 days.
Oh, that's nice. How was your trip?
It was good.
Other than LAX. I only know you left because of your LAX when you returned.
LAX is the worst dump of an airport that has ever been created.
I was there 12 hours earlier, and I was like, "This is all accurate."
They're trying, but the problem is
they don't
have nearly enough land.
Yeah, there's no infrastructure.
And you show up but the problem was when we landed, we got through customs and everything pretty good. But we show up, we get to it's the pickup area.
Yeah, the pickup's chaos.
That's chaos.
That's what I'm saying is that when they built the airport initially, like this entire city, they were like, this should be more than enough. There is not nearly enough. You need to expand out
everything. They got to build it out. Yeah. And my wife was like, well, it's a Monday night. It's going to be, and I said, stop.
No time
I said,
safe.
Stop what you're going to say. I said, it's going to be awful. I said, what you're about to say is that it's Monday night and LAX traffic shouldn't be bad. LAX traffic is always bad. It doesn't matter what time.
Ironically,
it's the worst.
Sunday and Monday night are the two worst nights. So like
especially
people are
right
coming
after Mother's Day.
Because people are coming back. Yeah. So even though like some people have, a lot of people just take that extra day off. Yeah. Because they think the same thing that
everyone is there Monday night.
It's atrocious.
Dark times. Good trip though.
Yeah, it was. I mean, we stayed at a nice resort. It was the Xcaret, Mexico.
Cool.
And it was a really, all inclusive.
Yeah.
So that was easy.
Tuck in, be cozy.
Yeah, those were easy. And pools, get to see the family. My daughter gave the best speech of the night, which I guess it's funny. We had to record it. I showed the guys before we started, but and she upstaged me and Alice, and we were happy about that. So it was good. But there's there was some stuff that kind of went down. Let's talk about this first story, which is the Echo and Loki thing. All right, let's get into that. Mm-hmm. All right, so at the Disney Upfronts, there's a presentation in New York. Kevin Feige, producer and the president of Marvel Studios and the CCO, provided a new look at 3 upcoming series on Disney+, starting with Secret Invasion, arriving on June 21st. We knew that. And then the release dates for Loki and Echo. Now, Loki Season 2 is coming out. We knew it was coming out in October 6th. The second season of Marvel Studios' Loki will arrive on October 6th, picking up where Season 1 left off. and viewers will see Loki in a familiar but strange place, yada, yada, yada. Now, this was the one that everybody was like, oh, wait a minute there. Echo, we didn't know when it was coming out, November 29th. And they're going to arrive on, it's going to arrive on November 29th, 2023, with all of the episodes dropping onto the streaming platform that day, which tells the origin story of Maya Lopez, whose ruthless behavior in New York catches up with her in her hometown. That was the big news, but I think they kind of buried it a little bit too, because we were hearing for a while. Remember that I had gotten an email from the same person who told me about this potential Star Wars show with Cal Kestis, right? Had also told me weeks before, no, months before, I guess, that Echo was in trouble, and that Echo was. And I had asked, and I reached out to someone at Disney first, and I said, "This is what I'm hearing before I talk about it." And they said, and the person at Disney said, "Not true. It's that I haven't heard that." Is what they said. To be fair to them, so you probably might not want to, say that. So I held off on it. And then reports started coming out that it was in trouble and everything. We started talking about it. This show is in trouble. This is I think that if they're dumping all the episodes right away, I don't feel like this is going to be a good show, and they're hoping that people will like some of the episodes because they can watch them in bulk. What do you think?
There's a macro to this I think no one's talked about. October going right in November. And in the middle of it is the Marvel's release.
Right.
So they're putting everything that was the end of the old era out at once. Yeah. People are talking about how they're dumping Echo. People are talking about how we're getting a late Loki. They're literally putting 3 properties, kind of the last 3 that were of the old era, within 8 weeks. Yeah. That's insane. So literally it's going to be 4 weeks into Loki, or 3 weeks into Loki, we get the Marvels. And then 4 weeks after that, I don't think the Loki show is going to be done within... It's going to be like a week done, and then the Marvels is going to be rolling into its drop as this show comes out and it all comes out. So by mid-November...
Wait. So October, though, so October 6th, is that what I said?
The beginning of October.
What did we say? So October 6th, I think is what we said.
We have the technology.
There it is. Now we can read.
Yeah, we can. October 6th.
So if it's, 7 weeks?
6 or 7 episodes.
So that would be mid-November. And November 10th is the Marvels. So what I'm saying is right as the Marvels box office drops, Echo comes out. And then Echo's going to be talked about for 1 week because they're dropping it all at once. That's the problem with binge culture is people talk about it for a week. We've said that as a negative and a positive. This is going to be
a positive for them.
Mid-December, all of this is going to be out of the zeitgeist.
I think that Echo, and this is what I think they're hoping for that.
Yeah.
I think that they're hoping... If they have a lot of confidence, Winston, in the Marvels, right? And they think the Marvels is a really great movie, and they like what they did with Loki season 2, they're going to say, okay, so what we can do though is that Loki, people will be talking about it. We go into the Marvels. People love it. The box office is winding down. We dump Echo all in one shot. They either love it or hate it. It's gone in a week, and then we can start building on everything else.
I've talked to both of you about this. I think I was just talking to Coy about it on the way over here. I definitely believe that has like a decent amount to do with it, but I also don't necessarily know. I mean, we'll see when it comes out if Echo is as bad as everybody's fearing. And the reason why is looking at how the studios are handling the strike, they intentionally started pulling programming left and right to have in their back pocket.
So they had some stuff.
This is an easy way to say we still have something we could present near the end of the year to kind of keep people all.
It's more about the distribution, though.
Right? That's right. See, that's the thing. I think I'd be more in the. I don't disagree with that point. I think that the studios absolutely did that. But I think that if that was the case, and this was a good show,
be weekly.
Why wouldn't you do it weekly?
No. That I understand. That's why I'm saying I still give you guys that there is maybe an issue with the show. But I think specifically because it was always talked about. At first, it was all coming out this year. And then all of a sudden, all of these properties started getting pulled, and we didn't know when anything was coming out. The only thing that stayed consistent were the 3 movies, even though they were jumbled on their dates.
We knew Loki and Secret Invasion were coming.
And those were the other 2. Was that Secret Invasion has never changed course, and then Loki's timeline has been pushed, and I think that is also partially Strike, partially Jonathan Majors. I think they were like, okay.
And partially the bombardment of Marvel stuff that they had while Chapek was there.
Yeah.
So it's all of those factors combined.
But I do like the Fresh Start 2024 approach. I like that it looks like we'll have a clean...
So
we'll feel like a new year. It'll feel like... We've talked about how the Captain America 4 is basically the first of the new wave. It's the first thing they're filming after the zeitgeist shift. We've got some residual shows that are going to be on the back burner in case the writer's strike goes as long as I think it will.
Yeah.
And we're going to also have giant announcements at Comic-Con this year. I'm pretty sure so long as the strike doesn't evolve into talent not being able to go, I think this year's Comic-Con is going to be the biggest in 10 years.
You know what they haven't mentioned at all is Ironheart.
For the same reason. For the exact same reason. They do not want to call attention to the fact that they're intentionally holding off on programming because Ironheart's done, and there's nothing about it that sounded like there was but for the exact reason of you have this situation here that let's say the strike ends in 3 months. Yeah. Right? You still have to then take the time to ramp everything back up and go. So the stuff that's done, you do not call attention to it because you need to be like, hey, remember we got Ironheart coming out. So even if the strike ends, you still have programming rolling out. You still have
stuff down the line, for sure. But but it's still part of your you're right. But the problem is it's still part of your universe that they're still trying to promote because it connects. I think the problem with Ironheart was announcing, like, I love Ryan Coogler, but there's the fact that they set that whole thing up to say, hey, here's our new character, and she's going to have a show. I think that was a mistake.
It also feels weird to not have it come out sooner to the movie.
Yes.
Because I wanted Ironheart immediately because I was like, I liked this character. I love Dominique's portrayal. A year? Like, it feels weird to...
Here's the issue, though. I think that they thought, because you guys responded to the character, I didn't. I thought she was good. I just didn't. I didn't see... I was like, I don't need to see a show. And I feel that there's a split camp. I think there's a lot of people who go, yeah, I'd love to see that show. Sure. And then I think there's people who are going... I don't know. And I think that they don't need that. They need everybody to go, oh, that character is so awesome. I want to see a show. And that's not the case.
You saw the footage at D23, right?
And it looked good. It looked good.
I think the issue right now is, and it was interesting. We were driving over here talking about like the way people feel about Marvel, and you have that great sports analogy you guys put up. I feel like there's a conversation about Phase 4 being all bad that isn't true. But I feel like, we talk about a lot on the internet, negativity does better. I think we're looking at with the last 2 years of Marvel as all bad or mostly bad when it was like not that bad. It just wasn't the great. High caliber we're used to. Like, it just wasn't Phase 1 through 3.
Do you guys watch Ted Lasso?
Of course.
No? Okay. So
I'm like the one person that can't get into that show.
Really? You tried?
I love it.
I watched like the first 2 episodes and I said, this is fun, but I wasn't locked in like everybody else.
You dug Shrinking though.
Love Shrinking.
Then I would say give it another shot just because you don't really get into like a lot of the deeper stuff like Ted's mental health issues.
Yeah.
And
I'll probably try to watch it without my wife. That's probably another reason.
Fair. Yeah. But I bring that up because in the most recent episode, I guess pseudo spoiler alert.
I don't want to hear it.
That's fine. It's not okay. It's not. All I'll say is this: a main character has hit an absolute peak, and then all of a sudden the whole world comes crashing down for them.
Okay.
So it's kind of a similar situation. You hit an absolute peak with Endgame. Once you're at the top of the mountain, there's only so much you can do. You either go back down the mountain, or someone mentioned in this most previous episode, or lightning comes and you can try and deal with lightning, and either you catch it or you don't.
Yeah.
So I think that's the issue. We hit the peak of the mountain, and so even though we're now looking to potentially scale another mountain and what they're trying to do, there's the only place to go right now is down. And so we had to go a little bit down, and I agree with Coy. I don't think it's as far down as people are making it.
But that's why I think the split camp is dangerous, because if you go down at all, that's all everybody's talking about. That's why I think they're putting out these 3 properties within weeks of each other, because any down right now is all anybody wants to talk about. We had the Wakanda Forever came out, and it was well received. Yeah. People are like, there was no good Phase 4 movies. And I was like, Shang-Chi, Wakanda Forever, No Way Home. Like, there was a stack, but people just want to talk about the
what it was? And if it wasn't, to me, it wasn't, as you talk about those movies, it wasn't that there was no good Marvel movies. It's that it didn't have the consistency of connectivity of good movies.
And that's why I think DC's in a way better spot than Marvel.
They are. And it just seems like there was more when you looked at Phase 1, 2, and 3, that it all interweaved and felt like a television show. And they made it feel like that's what 4 was going to do. And people are still saying, to be fair, give it time, let's see. But Winston and I talked about it, and we made some shorts out of it, and people saw it. But it's like we equated it to sports. And we said that at the moment right now, Marvel doesn't have any all-stars. They have good players. They don't have any all-stars. Like, because the Guardians just retired. Those are the last all-stars. Spider-Man's an all-star. He's on the bench. Doctor Strange is he was an all-star, but he blew his arm out.
I don't even know. See, the funny thing is, I don't even know if he was an all-star, as he was still a very, very good player.
Pippen?
Pippen was an all-star, though.
Yeah, well,
you know what I'm saying? He's like Steve Kerr. He was the situation where it's like where he's the man.
When he shows up, he does.
Oh my
stuff.
God!
But he had a really good. But again, the first movie was fantastic.
It was really good. But I don't know if anybody was out here in these streets like I have to have me some more Doctor Strange.
But I would call him an all-star. He might not be peak all-star, but I think he's an all-star because if he shows up, people are like, oh, he's part of the Olympic team that won the title.
If I'm doing the NBA math correctly, I want to say there's like 30 all-stars. He's all-star number 30. So he made the all-star game, but he's on the bench.
Maybe so, but he's
deep
still
bench.
Bill Lambier or whatever. So,
but yeah, with Thor doing as badly as it did, I do feel like that is kind of proving your point. Like Thor not landing.
Well, and that was the thing that Kristian keeps telling me to stay out of the comments, but somebody kept being like, "Well, the Thor doesn't exist now," and I was like, okay.
Thor ran right into the wall trying to catch a ball.
Yeah, did we see the same movie? Because he did run into that wall real fast.
Thor felt like Mello, when Mello was like that guy and he was the scoring god, like of course, but then there was a point where Mello just started drifting to different teams. I mean, you had him on the Knicks for like 5-7 years.
He was
and then
Mike Tyson fighting too far past his prime.
Yes.
I was going to say he's getting knocked out by bums he shouldn't be getting knocked out.
That's what happened with Thor.
I'm going to go even further. I'm going to say it's Jordan playing baseball. It's the wrong sport. They put him in the wrong movie.
Wow.
He's actually a great player, wrong movie, wrong sport. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, look at that over there. He's out there.
He's got the potential.
Yeah.
That but he's also seems to be not wanting to play the game anymore.
Yeah.
So that's why there are no all-stars yet. I'm not telling you can't build them because someone said
I'm not saying they're not coming.
Because someone said to me, that I saw someone tag me. I saw your sports saying Shang-Chi's not an all-star. Nope. Great game.
No, he's rookie of the year.
Great player.
Rookie of the year.
Ain't an all-star yet.
Rookie of the year.
I would say there's
not an all-star.
two of them. Kamala Khan and Shang-Chi, I think, are rookies of the year. I'd say Kamala Khan's got the potential.
Yeah,
I think she's because the Marvels trailer was like her.
But that's what I'm saying. There's no all-stars yet, and that leads into people going, you can have good movies all day long, but if you're not following those people, you're not excited to see them in the other movies, it doesn't work as much because like when Tony Stark would show up in someone else's movie, you're like, yeah, or the same thing. Like, if freaking Black Widow shows up in someone else's
Doctor
movie,
Strange theme credits was a moment. Like, you're right. But I think it's interesting that Brie Larson as Captain Marvel, for me, was a bigger pop in wrestling. That's a term in wrestling, right? Yes. Brie Larson in Fast X was a bigger pop for me than seeing Captain Marvel pop up. Like, when I saw her character in Fast X, that's the Brie Larson I want to see.
Because you like her more as an actress.
I like Brie more than the portrayal of Carol Danvers.
Me too.
So I hope that the Marvels makes the Carol Danvers have that same level of like Brie charm. Because she could be an all-star.
Because the other thing where I think people heard our analogy and immediately got reactive to it is you also have to take in consideration for a lot of these players, there's not that long of a gap between when they last played and when they get back on the court. Totally. Whereas, for example, sure, Shang-Chi having the potential to be that guy, his movie was what, 2019?
No,
2020.
2021 or 2022.
It was after the pandemic started.
It was during. It was great.
I thought it was okay. Yeah, because Black Widow came out first, and then so 2021.
2021. So Shang-Chi was the first one where they didn't put it on streaming, and it was like they were getting back into like screening and stuff. Yeah.
So that was 2021. So it's been 2 years. We literally have not seen the character anywhere.
Right.
If he had popped up in a TV show, if he had been a post-credit scene,
they could have built him out.
We could have a different conversation.
Right. He had a great game, and they kept him on the bench afterwards. It's like why not use him again? Because we don't want to overexpose him. We don't want to blow his knee out.
That's why I think they're putting everything they filmed out at once because they're gonna start to be more cohesive. 2024. I think all of the restructuring, getting rid of some of the powers that be, also looking at pivots. I think the reason those three things come out is like, okay, that's the stuff that's not cohesive. Yeah. Please trust us, 2024.
Because even further along that line of not using them, you could make the argument that Yelena is well on her way of becoming an all-star or is already potentially there, considering she keeps stealing the show. I'm talking about Florence Pugh.
But
the problem, but the difference is, and why I say I have more faith in that right now than Shang-Chi, and it's not because Shang-Chi can't get there. It's because she's already was in her own movie, and then she showed up in Hawkeye, and then she's in all these different post-credits.
Thunderbolts poster got us excited.
That's your best argument if someone's going to be arguing against what we're saying here. Mm-hmm. Your best argument is what about Thunderbolts? What about because the other all-stars,
Bucky,
and Mackie. You know, and so you still have. We talked about it. I think like he's on the cusp.
He's on the cusp.
He's on the cusp of being an all-star.
He also just changed teams. That's what's tricky. Is I feel like he's got a new jersey on.
He's got a new jersey,
and that's you got to get used to it.
Yeah,
I don't know how much you don't really follow football.
Well, you know what it is, Troy. More so than a jersey, he's in a different position.
Yes,
they put him. They put him.
I like that.
He's playing quarterback,
bro.
Yeah.
He's F Brett Favre, but he's Aaron Rodgers taking over from Brett Favre.
100%.
You know what I'm saying?
100%,
It's a situation where now this is what I was thinking honestly is Jalen Hurts, where he's like, okay, he's kind of been around and like he's got the talent. I think this is this next movie is when he makes that jump.
Yeah, because that's what it is. He was an all-star in his position.
Yes,
and then but his position was he was a great kicker.
He was,
he's a great kicker.
Sixth man of the year, bro. Yeah. He's a kicker.
Sixth man of the year.
Just booting the hell out.
He's kicked anytime that he was asked to kick the ball through, he did it.
But
now they're asking him to throw it into the end zone.
Now they're like, bro,
we need you to run.
You've been
But if I trust anyone to go up a weight class, it's Mackie. Like I feel like he's going from 145 to 155. He's gonna fight new like bigger fighters, but I think he's ready for it. I just think that we haven't done it yet. A leader of the team,
and he's got his partner in Bucky, and so Sebastian, same things. They're both on the cusp, I think, because they have to be, because what they also have going for them is that they were part of the old regime, and now when they walk in, people go, oh yeah, okay, great. So they have an opportunity. The Thunderbolts for sure have that movie has the opportunity to make all-stars.
Absolutely, it 1,000% does. As does, I still believe the Marvels, depending on how this plays out.
Sure.
I mean, what else are
but Kamala has the best
Cap 4, man. Captain 4 with all the Hulk stuff. Yeah. It's going to be like a Hulk Captain combo.
Absolutely. I thought that was Thunderbolts. It's Cap 4.
Cap 4's got the villain as the leader from Incredible Hulk way back in the day. It's it's going to have like the Betty Ross comes back. Liv Tyler's in it. So there's like so much. Yeah.
How do you have her come back but not have Ruffalo back?
It's going to be so. What you mean, not Norton?
Well, no, because Norton got replaced. But I mean, you got to have you. I think that would even.
Who's to say that maybe there's something they're just hiding from us? Because how many times there's people just randomly popped up and we didn't realize it?
Tinfoil hat theory. Kang Dynasty reveals we're in multiple universes. I think it'd be nuts if Ruffalo sees Liv and he's like, "Hey, nice to meet you," and she's like, "I'm Betty Ross," and they don't know each other because they like that casting. Like if that's not his Betty Ross,
it'd be too confusing, man. But there's more going into Loki. But the thing I love about Hulk, Hulk is coming back. We know She-Hulk also, and we don't know how she's going to show up. But like, what's his face is the Thunderbolt, Red Hulk, right?
Yeah,
it's red,
Harrison Ford.
And they're what? They're green. They're both of them. What about athletic greens? I'll tell you that. Athletic greens, everybody. Athletic greens. Our next partner is Athletic Greens. I take AG1 by Athletic Greens every day. I've been talking about them forever. They've been part of the show forever. It's like every single episode you hear about Athletic Greens, and why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you try it? You keep hearing about it, and yet you haven't tried it? Show a little. I'm telling you, it's amazing. I love it. I take it in the morning. I put it in a water bottle. I shake it up. Energy is pumping. And I just feel like I'm unstoppable. I feel a lot younger. I feel like I can, my sleep quality has gone up tremendously. I'll tell you that. And very quickly, I noticed that that's what it was helping with. And it got a little pep in my step, as the kids say. Nobody says that. Why take a bunch of different things when you can just mix one scoop in water? That's it. You're done. It's an all-in-one formula. It makes it easy for me to cover my nutritional bases every day. It's got 75 vitamins, minerals, whole food sourced ingredients, all of that. My AG1 it's delivered to me every month. Very easy, daily habit. So if you are looking for an easier way to take supplements, Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. You got to go to athleticgreens.com/bigthing. athleticgreens.com/bigthing. Check it out. How do you like that transition, Coy?
It was the use of color and comic
you
references.
Pissed him off because he was like, Red Hulk, you idiot. Like,
Harrison Ford isn't green. Athletic Gray for the 60s crowd.
That's right.
No, Athletic Green also, I want to say, helped me survive Italy because I brought a ton of it with me. And I was eating pasta and pizza and it was delicious. Oh, and I somehow didn't gain a ton of weight because the food there is real. Yeah. But Athletic Greens was my morning. Like I just pour it in a thing and just like have the energy to just walk everywhere. It's great. Man, I walked 30,000 steps a day.
Josie, he still owes me, Josie.
I owe you, Josie.
Freaking deadbeat.
I've been on a diet. Like I'm a monster.
Diet?
In the
You
LA
just talk
way.
about you slopped it all up.
Because the dairy out there doesn't make my skin look like a giant zit.
Yeah, I
the dairy.
you
know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but it's still Joe's. Show a little.
Joe's.
Right.
Much love, Joe's.
I want to get into something. We were talking about Loki earlier. Let's talk about this Loki story. Loki season 2. This comes from comicbookmovie.com. This is a very interesting article that I don't know enough about yet. Loki Season 2 will reportedly clear up Jonathan Majors' MCU future as Kang the Conqueror. Say what? If a new rumor is believed, Marvel Studios is making plans to address Kang the Conqueror problem, with Loki Season 2 reportedly set to explain Jonathan Majors' future as the iconic villain. Marvel Studios has a Kang the Conqueror problem. Jonathan Majors first played the villain in Loki, only to portray literally countless variants of the villain in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Now, long after that movie was released, the actor found himself in the midst of an alleged case of domestic abuse that will see him up in court this summer. Things are not looking good for Majors, especially after texts meant to prove his innocence instead led to online accusations of emotional abuse as well. As a result, there's pressure on Marvel Studios to recast Kang, though it looks like they're waiting to see how it goes from Majors in court first. It's not a good look, but it appears a decision may have finally been made and things have become clear once Loki Season 2 wraps on Disney. According to Scooper at Alex from CC. Who is that? That could be just some guy who woke up in the morning and said, I'm going to do that.
Alex P.
Or it could be somebody connected. We don't know. Nonetheless, there are no plans to ditch the ongoing multiverse storyline that is set to culminate with the Avengers Kang Dynasty and Avengers Secret Wars. However, Major's future will reportedly become clear by the time Loki ends. With the series pushed back to October 6th, that leaves enough time for reshoots, which can clear up the actor's future or lack thereof as Kang. Perhaps something will happen which results in the villain's appearance being changed. A simple recast would be easier, but Marvel rarely heads down that road. Hopefully we'll have more details to share with you soon. The tweet from Alex P. is no, absolutely not. Marvel's too far deep into the multiverse lore to back out with Kang. The multiverse saga will continue, but for Majors, everyone will have their answer. They're looking by Loki Season 2. Now, I don't know who the hell Alex P. is, but he could. I'm not. What I don't want to do is say, like, oh, it's Alex P. Alex P. could be a Disney executive sitting in his toilet somewhere just saying, screw this. I'm saying, I don't know who he is. Or he could just be some guy who's
Alex
going,
P. Keaton, bro.
Yeah, hell yeah. I haven't watched that Apple doc yet. Have you?
No, I haven't.
On Michael J. Fox here, it's really good. Anyway, let's just do speculation here. Let's say this is true. What do you think? Because it's like, yes, they should wait to see. It goes back to the same conversation I think we've had many times over. The first part of that is, okay, Marvel, Majors, publicist, agent, all of these people, they know more about the details of the case than we do. Because the reason I give the big example on that with the publicists and the managers are they got rid of him right away when this all went down.
So with his agent, I think, right? He's got one of his team, yeah.
He got rid of a lot of people got rid of him, and projects get dropped and all that. But if there are other agents and managers knowing that Marvel has not dropped them yet, and knowing that Marvel is going to spend a lot of money with this guy, don't you think that other agencies and PR firms would be chomping at the bit to say, okay, fine, you guys dropped them, we'll take them?
I don't think they would publicly until he got cleared.
But that's what I'm saying, though. It's like they because you would look at the details, and the thing is, too, is like, because if Marvel hasn't dropped them, now if Marvel dropped them, then everyone's backing up, but Marvel hasn't dropped them, so there are phone calls. What I'm saying is there are phone calls taking place of information.
Contingency plans.
Yes, to find out what is happening because of
I bet they've shot an alternate. Like they might Parnassus this. Have you ever seen the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus?
Yeah, but I don't remember it.
So when Heath Ledger passed, he was a third of the way into filming this film, and Johnny Depp, Jude Law, and Colin Farrell all stepped in and finished his role for free and like donated the money to his daughter, and it was this really beautiful thing to bring the story together. But the way they were able to tell this story was every time he went into this mirror, he was able to come out with a different face, and they made the story about that transformation, and it became a more beautiful story, I think, and it's a great send-off. What they could do with this is have Victor Timely at some point transition, and you'll probably see a few different Kangs. He might transition into a new person in Loki, and they've probably shot it as like a,
yeah. Just in case. The leading up to it stuff, that's how they would do it. I'm just saying, though, there's more information that the inside people know than any of us have. And because like I said, if I was running a PR firm or an agency or any of that, I'd be like, what do they really know? Because he should stay, and why aren't his lawyers fighting? Because he's not, we saw the evidence and everything he's got. He's going to be okay in court, and he's going to fight this, he's going to win.
Here's the only thing that's really interesting to me, and I'm trying to figure out, because I know for a lot of rep deals, it's lifetime stuff.
Right.
So meaning if you sign up for a 7-picture deal and like Kristian, you're my manager and you're the one that gets it, even if we part ways, you were on that deal, so you still get your cut regardless, but you're just still getting your distance
None
from
of
him.
You dump me though.
But that's
it depends on the deal.
It depends
really
on the
depends
deal.
on how it's negotiated.
A lot of them end up being the in perpetuity of those projects.
But it again depends on the deal, right? So the deal would be definitely if he dumped them, then they would be like, okay, fine, but you're going to pay us for
right. Kang Dynasty was we signed that contract.
That's fine. We made that happen. So you dump us, we're still getting paid. We dump you. I mean, because like I don't know, like why if you dump me and then someone else picks me up, why the hell am I still paying you? It's like because that's one thing, but it's either way. The idea of cast, it seems as if with everything leading the way it is. It seems like you're probably right. There's going to be a contingency plan. They're probably going to recast because they have the fallback of the multiverse to say, well, you know how who is it? Stephen who played older Loki in the show.
What's his name? I love him.
Richard, right?
Richard, from
Grant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's like something like that, you know, like not him.
There's like also,
you know what I mean, right.
But there's no like rules to the multiverse yet. It's driving me insane because Doctor Strange should have been different Doctor Stranges, and he wasn't. And then Loki is not a Nexus being, but there's like different Lokis. And then sometimes like the rules in the comics are very clearer, and like that's with 30 writers. The universe, I really hope they summarize it by Kang Dynasty, but now the one person that can answer the questions might get recast.
You know,
what I was gonna say, that's the other weird part about it is like you said. I mean, the Doctor Stranges should have looked different, and they didn't. But like you said, the Lokis did. But then all the Kangs all look like Jonathan Majors. So yeah.
But here's the problem though.
And the Liz Banks, she's a Nexus being, so I was like, okay, this makes sense. She's a Nexus being. But then when Loki wasn't, and then Doctor Strange was, and they didn't say anything about it.
But here's the problem. You guys, as you mentioned in the last segment, right? You talked about how there's not a lot of bad movies, and that very well might be true. And the problem is, this is very reminiscent of Lucasfilm in the way that Phase 4 to me is being run the same way Lucasfilm is. Maybe not to that extreme of mishandling stuff, but the perfect example of that is when WandaVision, the writers for Doctor Strange didn't even watch it, and they couldn't yet because it wasn't finished, right?
Yeah.
Then don't make the movie at that time.
No.
Don't have it come out. If you want everything to connect and you want it all to make sense, first of all, demand that these people watch it. Freaking what's his face? Sam Raimi didn't watch it. The writers didn't watch it. It was confusing. It didn't play right. It screwed up the multiverse in general. It was almost like a side adventure. If you're Kevin Feige, you gotta go. No, everybody needs to watch it. Everybody needs to. Where did I just hear it? I don't know if I heard this. Oh, I heard a story about Kevin Feige. I don't know if it's a public story, so I don't want to say it. But it's just his intent. Basically, the gist of the story is how involved he was in the first 3 phases and how he would take meetings with these writers and make sure that he knew everything that they were doing and the way they would pitch. He cared. He was involved in it. And I'm not saying that's not the case now, but the man is busy. And when you have stuff like that, that's a perfect example. What you guys are just talking about. There's no rules to it all. It's kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
You said it best yourself.
Thank you.
It is. I can't ever give you a compliment. I should have learned this by now.
Conversation.
The MCU, even before it had TV shows, was a giant serialized TV show.
Yeah.
So the idea of having a quote unquote writer's room here, and you have to plot out a whole season of television, and the random writer on episode number 20 goes, I don't give a damn what was happening the rest of the season. What were the points? Okay, she got kids. Right. Cool. She gonna look for her kids. We're not gonna give you we're just gonna loosely
They're
whatever.
Not gonna care because it's gonna look cool. And we're gonna have Professor X come out. And it's
no. You're in that room, and everything that has happened prior dictates what happens in your episode. You don't get to do that.
We're going to talk about James Gunn in a minute, but I love the new quotes about James Gunn basically saying, like, I consulted on all of Phase 3, and he was the comic guy to Kevin Feige being the executive. And I love that their relationship allowed for cohesive movie and cohesive comic reference, and it all came together. James Gunn apparently wrote the Infinity Stone stuff in like 90 minutes because he's such a comic nerd. He was able to speak film to Kevin Feige, and then he was able to bring the comics in.
Right.
We didn't have that as much, and I think that is part of that feeling of disconnect that I really honestly think originally was going to be solved in Phase 5. And then I think the combination of overambition, I think the pandemic, I think bringing in people that didn't read the past, doing the streaming, but also the lack of giant writer's room. You need that. Like if I get hired to write Mission Impossible 9, I should watch 8.
100%.
You should watch all 8 of them.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, but, and to be honest with you, that brings us right back to the strike. I don't know. These producers need to pay people and let them do their job because they need to be able
they're
to.
gonna write it. It's fine.
When they are doing their job, help them and say, hey, listen, I know that the studio is pushing us to basically put this movie out in March. Well, guess what, studio? It's not. You want a better product? Then you let us finish our other show that you made us do. But you made us do this show because you wanted all these streaming shows. Well, it's out now. It did really well. People like it. But you not give me enough time to show my writers what the hell they have to do for this movie.
And the scripts were definitely done.
And this is one example of a lot of the stuff that they've done.
No, you're spot on, and that's all correct. I thought that was another crappy segue into like BetterHelp or something like that. So he's like, see, if you get all your writers, you need to get them help. So BetterHelp, you got to make sure that you take care of your mentals.
That's how much these tangents have thrown us.
Dude, I mean, Winston coming in.
Hey, just ready today with the compliment jabs.
You're cold, man, but you shouldn't be cold because if you want to get a RUMPL blanket. RUMPL blankets. Let me tell you about RUMPL blankets. I love RUMPL blankets. They're the best. They're on a mission to introduce the world to better blankets. I've been talking about RUMPL blankets forever. You guys know it. So excited. Oh, man, when they told me RUMPL was coming back, I was like, hell yeah, I can't wait to get another one of those blankets, man. I've got one. They have it for like the outdoors, which I take to my kids' soccer game. You can take them to picnics. And then they got one that you just like snuggle up on the couch too, which I also love. They have the original puffy blanket. That's the RUMPL's #1 bestseller, by the way. It's got over 1 million sold. Over 135 unique designs, blanket for everyone. And as I mentioned, it's not just for outdoors. You can watch a movie, watch a TV show on the couch, just kick back, and you can bring it with you to your local theater also. Huge selection of indoor styles like cozy hemp, fleece, and Sherpa blankets. For our listeners, you got to go to rumpl.com/thebigthing and use that code THEBIGTHING at checkout. That's 10% off of your first order. rumpl.com/thebigthing. The big thing. Protect yourselves, fool. That's right. Using the internet without ExpressVPN, it's like having a first aid kit, but you don't keep it stocked up. What are you doing? Most of the time you'll be fine, right? But then what if you get into a horrible accident and there's nothing in your first aid kit to help you stop the bleeding? Well, ExpressVPN, man, it is very, very important. I'll tell you why. Because every time you connect to an unencrypted network, whether it's a cafe, hotel, airport, anything, any hacker on the same network, they just can gain access to your personal data. That's it. And your passwords, your financial details. Headache. It doesn't take much technical knowledge to hack someone. Anybody can do it. You just need some cheap hardware. Your data is very valuable. Hackers can make up to $1,000 per person selling your personal information on the dark web. So you're going to ask me, why do I need to use ExpressVPN? Why is that one the one to use? It's got an encrypted tunnel. It creates a secure encrypted tunnel between your device and the internet, and hackers can't steal your sensitive data. And it's super secure. It would take a hacker alone with a supercomputer over 1 billion years to get past ExpressVPN's encryption. Very easy to use. You fire up that app and you click one button to get protected. And it works on everything. Phones, laptops, tablets, everything. Do it. I love it. It makes me feel safe. It makes me feel safe with my family. And it makes me feel safe when I travel. So secure your online data today. You visit expressvpn.com/thing, expressvpn.com/thing, and you can get an extra 3 months free. expressvpn.com/thing. All right. So as Coy mentioned, there's a lot going on with James Gunn and DC, and we're starting to amp up with. I'm feeling this shift now more so than ever, that if Superman comes out and it's the thing, and it really, really works. You've been saying it for a bit. The balance of power is going to shift, and I think Marvel is going to not be the team anymore. I think DC is for the first time really poised to take over if they get these movies right. The first one, and here's all this potential casting now that's coming out, and so let me tell you the first one that we've talked about all week here. All right, so this David Corenswet rumor just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And there's like fan art about this guy, and everybody else is talking about this Wolfgang guy also. I looked at the two photos. I don't know either one of them as far as how their acting goes. My personal opinion is that David Corenswet looks more like Superman. I think Wolfgang looks way more like a model. He looks like a straight up model.
Very pretty boy. Like they're both very pretty, but
Yes.
he's like model pretty. You're right. It's different.
Wolfgang looks like a straight up model,
Yeah.
and maybe it's just the pictures. I'm not judging on their acting. I could see them, but I'm just people going, "Oh, you haven't seen him in this." You're right. I could absolutely see video footage of the two of them and go, "I don't know, I'm changing." I'm telling you, look alone to me that Corn Sweat looks more like Superman. But anyway, the rumors are that Corn Sweat's in the running for Superman Legacy, according to the Hollywood Reporter. The upcoming movie, which will be written and directed by Guardians of the Galaxy's James Gunn, is seriously narrowing down its search for its lead, and who will be playing Lois Lane and Lex Luthor too. When it comes to the Man of Steel, Corn Sweat is said to be the top contender, having recently held his opposite against Mia Goth in Pearl. Before that, he appeared in Ryan Murphy's The Politician and Hollywood. The screen test stage for Superman Legacy is likely to take place after Memorial Day or in early June, so it might not be too much longer until casting announcements are start to be made. Hollywood, yeah, would you just wait?
I'm just
Would
saying.
you
it's so
just
cooked,
wait
so
until we
souped.
talk about that? The Hollywood Reporter states that two others are in with a chance of bagging the role of Soups, though their names have not been disclosed. I bet you Wolfgang's one of those guys. The publication does suggest, however, that Euphoria's Jacob Elord isn't linked to the part, despite fan speculation. Yada, yada, yada.
That's a shame.
This
He's
is
really good.
This is what Gunn said. Gunn said, "I completely relate to Superman because he's everything I am." Gunn previously told THR as part of its April cover story, he's somebody who is an outsider who feels like an alien, but also the ultimate insider because he's effing Superman. And that's kind of what it feels like. Superman Legacy, which will kick off the DC slate. It's scheduled to release on July 11th, 2025. Okay, so there's a lot here. The rumors, by the way, and we'll talk about it in a second, of Lois Lane is Rachel Brosnahan
from Miss Maisel. And two other great actresses. I really liked.
Okay,
all
who are
their,
the other two?
I don't know their names.
Should
I watched
look
clips
up
of them
Okay.
when they were trending, and I was like super impressed by both of them. And then the Nicholas Hoult, I kept seeing rumors that he was Lex Luthor. Then I heard that he was
I'm
rumored
here
for
it.
Superman.
I heard it was up for both.
I
And
really
then-
hope it's not Superman. Superman would be a terrible choice.
I think he would be better as Luthor.
As do I.
honestly, because I'm tapping. He's done a lot of stuff. I do need to. How was Renfield, by the way?
Oh, so much fun.
Renfield was fun, but it's forgettable.
How was he though?
Oh,
great.
he's great in it.
But that's
Great.
so like I think of at least what I saw of him in the trailers for that. But I just think of him as Beast and those moments where he's really just distraught and whatnot. I think he could really bring something kind of twisted and sinister to Luthor. That I think that would be wonderful casting if they go that route.
Yeah, and then so for Lex, he's the only one that's kind of rumored for that, so that's why I think that it's possible. Samara Weaving is the other one.
As Lex Luthor?
Yeah, as Lex
She'd
Luthor.
be great, man.
As
I
Lex
see it.
Luthor.
Look at those eyes.
Yeah, I see it. Just shave her bald. I'm here for it.
for Lois. So Samara Weaving, I mean, she's got a good look for sure. I don't know her that well, but Samara Weaving,
Dude, she's so
She's
talented.
so good.
what is she in?
She had a lot
Babylon,
of stuff.
Scream,
The
Ready or Not.
Babysitter.
What was she in Scream?
She's the girl that gets killed in the alley in the new one.
Oh, okay.
She's the glorified cameo as a reference to Ready
But
or Not.
yeah,
It's
they're,
those directors.
they're right there. You can see him. I know you're searching, but yeah, no, she's really good in this Netflix 2-movie series called The Babysitter.
Yeah.
Phenomenal in that. Like she's like that. She's one of those people that has been
right
both
there.
there and not there.
When I talk about when there's casting the people that are right on the cusp, she's
She's
exactly
one of
there.
them.
Like where it's
She's
like
one of
she's
them.
ready to be the household name.
Right. Well, let's see. And the other name was Phoebe Denver, Dynavore. I don't know her either. Not sure who she is. Bridgerton? I don't know. I don't know.
okay.
I don't know.
I'm
I
not
don't know if that's
familiar
true.
with any
Yeah,
of
this
her
was one
stuff.
of the names I
But
saw. But
I like the and then Rachel Brosnahan and then Emma.
and Emma Mackey was the one I was really excited
Who's
about.
Emma Mackey?
I don't know.
Emma Mackey's in. I watched clips. I don't know her work. I just was impressed
Yeah.
with the clips I saw. But to me, she looks like so much like Lois Lane. It's incredible.
Let's see. The look wise so far, yeah,
Like that to me
Oh
is like
wow!
yeah. Emma Mackey looks very.
So
Lois
she's
Lane-ish.
coming into.
Well,
she's
not
in
there. She
Barbie.
doesn't. What's that? What's that from?
There she looks like Samara Weaving.
That's from Sex Education, I believe.
Yes, but Emma Mackey. Emma Mackey's she's got a good look for sure.
she just like looks like an intrepid reporter to me.
I still will tell you though. I think for me, Brosnahan is my choice out of all of them. I think she's got to
Show me her again.
you watch
I know, but I know I've seen her before. I just she's 5'3".
Oh wow,
You put her on.
that'll
an
make
apple
Superman
box.
tall.
Yeah,
I had no idea she was that small. She looks so tall in Maisel.
yeah.
She's incredible.
Yeah, she's great. I like her a lot. I think she can carry the. She absolutely can the weight of Lois Lane, the personality. Like that's, I mean,
she also has that intrepid reporter vibe, and she
does.
speaks really well. Like the Amy Sherman Palladino dialogue is no easy feat, and there's a certain like pentameter to it that would, I think, translate to James Gunn's dialogue as well as the comic book dialogue. Because you got to keep in mind, not only are you in a giant $100 million movie, but there's certain lines you have to say that are ridiculous.
Right.
Like casting for superhero films is like Sarah Haley Finn over at Marvel does art. What you have to do to get not just the right actor, not just the right time in their career, but also people that can say like Gadzooks
and believe
and make it work.
Right.
Yeah. I guess my only pushback with Rachel Brosnahan is just from the standpoint of knowing her acting and how strong as she is. I am not saying that Lois Lane is not an important character and a major keystone, but I would love to see her actually be the lead of something. Because Lois is still technically a supporting character, even with her being as big as she is.
It's a pretty big role, man.
I'm not saying it's not, but I there's a part of me, unless there's some Lois Lane movie coming at some point. You know what I mean?
I think Lois Lane. If you're talking about like as a superhero leading her own movie, I think that Rachel Brosnahan would fit that type of role better than she would, I don't know. And what are some of the other female big DC characters?
She'd be a decent Batgirl. I think that, but at the same time, I think Lois Lane is maybe the biggest name in DC that isn't in a cape.
I agree with that. The only thing that at one point I would want to see her fine, give me a Lois movie at some point. I don't. It doesn't mean that like when you have those situations, like when Amy Adams brought to Lois Lane, doesn't mean that it wasn't huge and all that kind of stuff. But like I don't know. I just want to see.
I think she's gonna have a lot more to do than previous Lois Lanes.
I also think they'll finally have a love story in a superhero movie. I was talking about this on Real Rejects a few weeks ago. It was really interesting to look at what we did with 90s and 2000s superhero movies. And then at some point in the 2005 era, we just like got rid of relationships. Like there's this thing in all these superhero movies where it's like Pepper and Tony are in love, but they seem like they just work together. Right. And like there's so many, like there's a lack of chemistry or sexual tension or anything in these movies. That's kind of weird when you've got these characters that are like saving each other's lives. Like
I thought Donner did it great.
Yeah.
I thought Donner did it great.
That's what I'm saying. Pre-2005,
I
think those movies had an adult friction that when the Eternals came out and they showed someone's like exposed clavicles and people like rebelled, I was like, these are the biggest movies in the world. If we get rid of all sex, people are not only going to be exposed to 10 times the violence because they already are, but also if you make it weird that people are like making new life.
And that's their love story is, and you can do it without them banging in the clouds.
Yeah. That's for Homelander.
Right. But it's like that's right. And but
like tension
I hope
and
so
love.
Because that's one of the main things is that's also the human side of Clark that you're going to see. But
which I didn't feel with Henry and Amy. Personally, bathtub scene, that water was cold.
Yeah, no. It wasn't it wasn't, but it wasn't the focus.
Wasn't.
It was it wasn't
and it was
the focus.
destroyed.
Yeah.
What a cold! What a cold!
What a real cold!
But it wasn't.
Never heat up.
But it wasn't. But it wasn't though. It wasn't focused. It wasn't the focus.
And Lois and Clark is the name of a show for a reason. Is the name of an entire world.
Right.
And I think if you're going to start DC, it'd be really nice to have a movie that's made for all ages to include the adult all ages with like let love be love, like let it be seen.
But what I like about I will tell you this, very similar when we went into over comic book movies list that they do. Their Batman list was great. There was what was the one that we didn't love?
We didn't love their Hal Jordan.
We didn't love their Hal Jordan, but we liked their Jon Stewart.
Yes.
So this is if you're looking at this as like what like comic book movie list, right? Well, this is actually more that was them just making a list. This is the potentials.
Yeah.
There's not a lot that I'm going. No, I hate the choice of Nicholas Hoult as Superman. Hate it. I absolutely.
I'm just curious.
Hate it because I think that he's able to. Because not that I don't think he could pull it off. I think he could. I like the idea of plucking someone you'd never really know who the hell it is and saying, who's that guy? That's Superman. Because Nicholas Hoult is Beast. Nicholas Hoult has been in all these different
War Boy, man. I
and
see him
he's
as
great.
Mad Max.
He's not a huge, like, massive household name yet. He's the way that I brought him up the other day was he's like, if I brought him up to show like your mom or your dad or anybody too, they go, oh, that guy. Like then like everybody watching here, everybody knows his name. But casual fans go, oh yeah. Or some and the tabloid people will go, oh that's the guy who dated Jennifer Lawrence. Right? But he would be great as Lex Luthor because he's got that switch where he can be a real effer.
Yeah, no, I absolutely that and someone put I don't know if it was a tweet or an article, but I saw something along the lines of like kind of what has been the staple with Superman and Lex Luthor is that Superman is an unknown, and then Lex Luthor is like an
recognizable,
established star
and somebody who can really act. And Nicholas Hoult can really act.
Because like what it was. Oh my God! How did I forget
Christopher
Reeves, and then
Reeves.
but then Hackman is Hackman.
Yeah.
And then you bring in Brandon Roth, who again no
Kevin
name at the
Spacey.
time, but you have Kevin
Yeah.
Spacey.
Right.
Point.
And then now with you had Cavill, who at that point wasn't anybody yet,
And you had
really.
Jesse Eisenberg.
And you had Jesse Eisenberg, who had just come off of. Did he win the Oscar, or he just was nominated?
Well, he
for
wasn't
a
even
thing?
in Man of Steel, though.
No.
They didn't even have a Lex in the Man of Steel.
Okay, so then who?
There was no Lex.
But then I'm Zod.
Rosenbaum and
Shannon. Michael
Yeah, Shannon was
There
big.
you go.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So-
I still think it should be Rosenbaum coming back. I mean, I think he's the right age. I think he's mid-late 30s, and if they cast like an early 30s Superman,
It's just-
he's
but at
and
this
James
point,
Gunn
though,
friendship.
But what you've done though is that this is where the clean slate
messy.
conversation comes in also,
Yeah.
because James Gunn has said, "Look, I give him credit because I would have liked to seen Henry Cavill come back. I mean, I really would." But he said it's not the story I want to tell. I'm telling a whole new thing. I'm going to cast. People are going to bitch and they're going to moan, and they're going to not like the fact. I know how beloved Henry is. I get it, but I'm casting the way I'm casting it. I'm making my thing the way I want to make it. And then I'm going all in and I'm cleaning it all out. There's going to be a new Jimmy. There's going to be a new Lois. There's going to be all of it. And we're going to set this is going to be our new Superman and our new cast for the next 10 years. So by bringing in a Michael Rosenbaum or that,
that's fair.
because then you're going to get people going, well, you brought Rosenbaum in, but
Yeah,
you didn't bring Henry.
Cameron Cavill?
You
Yeah,
stay
you gotta
away
be
from
clean.
it. It also goes into the shift into the next conversation of the recasting
Better
clean
help.
slate thing. Yeah, right. No, but the thing that's right. The clean slate of it all is that we're getting very, very close to the time point that we've kept talking about. The Flash is right around the corner. The Flash is coming out, and I have answers that I can't give right now, but I also want to see how the timeline is going to move for James Gunn afterwards about new characters that could come in, and new cast people that could come in, and how is that going to shift? Who's going to be Batman? Who's going to do this? Who's going to do that? It's all going to. I think it's all going to make sense after the Flash comes.
His
out.
contract legally started May 1st, right? When we talked about that, when I was like, right after Guardians comes out at DC, wasn't James Gunn?
No. It was
last year.
It was November 1st, I think.
Oh, I thought that was like a thing where his contract didn't start until after the press.
What we got wrong is I said it was 3 years and it was 4 years.
Oh, okay.
That's
so
what it
either
was.
way,
Yeah.
I think right now, as the press for Guardians winds down and everything else, I think that this June casting is accurate. I don't think we'll get official confirmation until right before Comic-Con, and I think they come out on stage at Comic-Con. And I think we have Lois, I think we have Lex,
Yes.
I think we have Clark.
Yes.
I think we maybe even have Batman. I think this is going to be a pretty crazy.
You ain't gonna get Batman.
You don't
yet.
think?
Not yet. I think because I
Too
think
far away from Brave and the Bold. You don't have anything.
it's that you might get an announcement of a director.
Yeah, that's true.
for Brave and
maybe
the
a
Bold.
slate gets just filled, but not a cast.
Because
That's
remember,
right.
the big rumor was who was it? That
Muschietti.
loved it. Yeah, it was Muschietti.
Yeah.
So I mean, that would be after Flash comes out. That would be a big. But listen. So
Or as Flash comes out. You'd say it
no. You do it at Comic-Con.
Look at how well James Gunn did balancing Guardians press with Superman rumors.
I know, but you do it because you're gonna have to have you. This is their first big show to compete with Marvel. It's
gotta be huge.
It's gonna be huge. James Gunn knows that. He's a showman, but he's gonna come out and he's gonna hold it. He's holding in a dump. But they're gonna announce Superman for sure.
Yeah.
And they want to keep the focus on Superman because he's the first one. And the other thing is he mentioned before with Brandon Routh.
Yeah.
I didn't mind that movie. Didn't do big box office for
Sure.
it. Man of Steel did good. Didn't do it's Superman. Why didn't Superman make $1 billion for whether it was? And it should have been. I'm sure Zack Snyder was saying it's Superman. I love Man of Steel, and I think that movie should have made $1 billion. But it hasn't been there hasn't been a big, huge, crushing Superman yet, and that's what they're going for, and that's where they're just going to put the focus on him. Go ahead, you got something to brewing.
He's been tense.
Wait a minute, you just held that in, and I threw it to you, and you still have a pregnant
because I
pause?
still needed a minute.
What do you got?
So we kind of talked about this a baby bit, but I think the one
Kevin
thing we're
Spacey
not
coming back as Lex.
Yeah, there it is. You
confirmed.
got it. You
Clean slate
totally
minus
got
him.
it. That's what the was about. We're 2 seconds away from both the DGA and SAG's contracts coming up, and it's already been announced that the SAG board has approved a strike, and now it's going to vote to that union. I have a weird feeling that because we're probably going to end up there, Comic-Con's going to implode. Because the problem
Very
is
possible.
with that strike coming up, that includes press.
Yes.
So that means this idea of we're going to announce our director, we're going to
Right.
no, you're not. Because
It doesn't
You're not
include
wrong.
press on
Yeah.
So the project's written. It's done. WGA has there's no qualms there. And James won't do rewrites on it if the strike is still going on. So that's done.
Right.
They're not filming until well after Comic-Con.
Sure.
It's a matter of solidarity.
But the cross the picket line, even as
It's a
president.
matter of
Because
solidarity.
will not
Legally,
go.
I don't think you can stop people from doing press because
You
like, that's
can't.
not,
No, you
Stop
can't.
But it's a matter of-
it's a matter of saying, hey,
We respect the strike.
You're promoting these studios' movies right now.
Right.
It's like some ball bag 1 month ago was like, why are you promoting the studios' movies? I'm like, I'm talking about them. And if you feel in this promotion, it's like, go away. But like but them going up there and promoting.
That's a different
Superman-
story. I
You're
see-
promoting
I see
the
your
movies.
perspective.
So you're right.
And the strike will still be happening then, I think.
I think we talked about it on Big Thing yesterday. I think that the writer's strike could potentially go into 2024, but I think it'll be over by the end of August, September. Because I think that's what the studio holds all of the power in this, guys. Like they hold all of it
For now. For
now. And that's there. But what I'm saying is they're not even considering negotiating right now. I mean, if
Right.
they are and you're going into rooms, it ain't real. They're not going to start negotiating and for real until like the mid-June, July, because they want it to be over around. They could probably hold out until the end of the year.
I would argue that the reason that they're holding out right now is they know that both the directors and the actors are coming. Whether or not the directors actually strike is its own thing, but it's pretty clear that SAG probably will at this point.
Yeah.
So knowing that, there seems to almost be for them, while it seems contrary, almost a better position of power to handle everybody at once and make it almost like a class action type situation.
Because it's
than
mid-June,
to
the SAG strike,
Then
right?
to take one and then, we got to start another strike. Oh, we got to start another strike. They're like, fine, throw it all into one pile. We're going to deal with this at one go. And that's why I'm saying, since Comic-Con is July?
Yeah.
July.
I don't think that they're going to be announcing anybody because, again, out of solidarity, I'm not going to nothing because all it takes is one person doing that. And sure, it's not illegal, but there are union rules.
I was,
and
they're
no
gonna catch
I was
us.
asking about the legal because you know more than I do. Like,
Well,
I personally don't want anyone to cross the picket line that stands for what, because I think these are all precedents. Like, these aren't just small things. These are huge precedents. That's why I think there should be a DGA, SAG, and writer strike uniting, because if AI does what it can do, all of them are screwed. So they need to unite. But I'm wondering if that contract that has to be signed is going to override whatever. Like, it's just
they're
messy.
going to try.
Yeah.
And if you get that you run the risk of that one person that hasn't quite hit their superstardom yet, and this is their big moment, like that's a lot of pressure. What
Yeah.
do you do? Do you say, okay, well, I'll at least go and announce this thing, but run the risk of whatever? So there's that, but you've got this situation where genuinely people are going to kind of stand their ground and be like, no, we can't right
Yeah.
now. And so that's the thing. I guarantee you that these studios have thought about this, and they've thought about what are we willing to lose right now and what are we willing to have be an issue, and then we'll deal with it later.
100%. That's exactly what they did, and they have a plan, and they know all this stuff, and all the strikes, they're prepared for it. So that's why I say they're the empire right now. They know how to battle the rebels, unfortunately, and the rebels are out there fighting the way that they should.
Yeah.
but
The rebels fighting a long game.
They're just fighting a long game. But either way, look, there's a lot to talk about. A lot that we did talk about here, and I throw it to you guys. What do you think about the potential casting? Do you think it's going to happen at Comic-Con? And do you think Comic-Con's going to happen? Do you think that the studios are going to say, you know what? We don't think we're going to have a lot of people at Comic-Con. Warner Brothers goes, we're not going to Comic-Con this year. We're not putting the money into it. And that very well could happen also. What do you think about the stuff with Marvel? What do you think about Loki getting pushed? What do you think about Echo? What do you think about all that stuff? Make sure that you comment and make sure that you hit that subscribe button. If you haven't done it already, do me a favor. Show a little. Just announce. Trying to get to 100K. We need you guys. So do it. Let the English see you do it. And that's it. So for me and Winston and Coy, we're out of here. Peace.